Hello, everyone! Benjamin Franklin here. Welcome back to American History Live's 250th birthday celebration.
I am Abigail Adams, and we are excited to be sharing American patriots in their own words. Welcome back, and we welcome students live and joining us in our recorded classes. Last week, we discussed Patrick Henry's stirring speech, "Give me liberty or give me death."
And today, we will discuss George Washington's farewell address to the nation at the end of his presidency and his illustrious career. We are pleased to also be here with the primary writer of Mr. Washington's farewell address, the Mr. Alexander Hamilton.
Yes, hello. I cannot express what an honor it was to put into words George Washington's feelings at the end of his presidency. Along with Mr. James Madison, we conveyed to the American people President Washington's advice for the nation's future.
You see, George Washington had not only helped, but established the precedent for the presidency. He also assured that America had independence from Great Britain. He was truly a man who dedicated his life to the creation of our new nation, founded on the principles of liberty.
My husband, John Adams, and all future presidents were guided by the foundation that President Washington created in his 8 years in office. The address gave guidance not only to presidents, but to the nation as a whole.
Now, the farewell address was not given publicly as a speech. It was instead published on September 19th, 1796, in the Philadelphia Daily American Advertiser. Then it appeared in newspapers across the country. Mr. Hamilton will be sharing these parts of this amazing address with us today.
Friends and fellow citizens, the period for a new election of a citizen to administer the executive government of the United States being not far distant, and the time actually arrived when your thoughts must be employed in designating the person who is to be clothed with that important trust, it appears to me proper, especially as it may conduce to a more distinct expression of the public voice, that I should now apprise you of the resolution I have formed to decline being considered among the number of those out of whom a choice is to be made.
In this farewell address, Mr. Washington is doing something revolutionary for the time. A leader of a country voluntarily stepping down, not seeking office for life or for a continuation until he is removed. If President Washington had chosen to stay, he most certainly would have been elected for a third term in office.
However, by stepping down after just 2 terms, President Washington created a precedent that continued until the election of 1940, where Franklin Roosevelt was elected for a third full term. But a 2-term presidency is now enshrined in our Constitution with the 22nd Amendment.
Washington addresses the reasons with, "This resolution has not been taken without a strict regard to all the considerations appertaining to the relation which binds a dutiful citizen to his country, and that in withdrawing the tender of service, I am influenced by no diminution of zeal for your future interests, no deficiency of grateful respect for your past kindness, but am supported by a full conviction that the step is compatible with both, to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn."
So Mr. Washington is declaring his intent to retire. Now, students, did Mr. Washington seek the power of the presidency, according to his own words? Was he one that really wanted to be like an all-powerful president? No, he really did not. Did he wish to continue as president or did he wish to retire? What do you think, students? Did he wish to continue to be president for the rest of his life or did he want to retire? Washington wished to retire. He had served as president out of a sense of duty to the people and his new nation, and now he was ready to go home. This is the true sign of a strong republic, the peaceful transition of government.
In the discharge of this trust, I will only say that I have, with good intentions, contributed towards the organization and administration of the government, the best exertions of which a fallible judgment was capable, not unconscious in the outset of the inferiority of my qualifications.
What do you think, students? Did Mr. Washington think he had never made a mistake? That's correct. He admitted he made lots of mistakes, but he did what he thought was best while acknowledging his own shortcomings.
Mr. Washington continues, my feelings do not permit me to suspend the deep acknowledgment of that debt of gratitude which I owe to my beloved country for the many honors it has conferred upon me. The constancy of your support was the essential prop of the efforts and a guarantee of the plans by which they were effected.
Now, this did not mean that President Washington never faced criticism or differing opinions, but that despite it all, he was still treated with respect.
Mr. Washington then goes into his hopes for our future, that your union and brotherly affection may be perpetual, that the free Constitution, which is the work of your hands, may be sacredly maintained, that its administration in every department may be stamped with wisdom and virtue, that, under the auspices of liberty and adoption of every nation which is yet a stranger to it.
Mr. Washington wanted America to continue to be united under the Constitution and be an example to the entire world. But he did have concerns for the American future, which is laid out as he continues in his address.
Solicitude for your welfare urged me on an occasion like present to offer to your solemn contemplation and recommend to your frequent review some sentiments which are the result of much reflection.
One major concern of Mr. Washington were the divisions that were already threatening the future of America.
Properly estimate the immense value of your national union to your collective and individual happiness, that you should cherish the name of American, which belongs to you, in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations.
Unfortunately, the divisions between regions in America were already showing. Now, students, do you remember what happened ultimately in America when Americans did not listen to George Washington's warnings that we should remain united, that we should not be divided based on where we live in our country, but we should all be Americans? Do you know what happened when we didn't listen to George Washington? That
Yes,
is
a war,
correct.
but a specific war.
Yes. It was definitely a war. It was unfortunately a civil war, a war between the North and the South that almost destroyed America. Mr. Washington talks about the need for unity as he goes into his speech further.
Here, every portion of our country finds the most commanding motives for carefully guarding and preserving the Union as a whole. The North, in an unrestrained intercourse with the South, protected by equal laws of a common government, finds in the production of the latter great additional resources. The South, in the same intercourse, benefiting by the agency of the North, sees its agriculture grow and its commerce expand. The East, in a like intercourse with the West, improvement in interior communications, commodities. The West derives from the East supplies to its growth and comfort, an insoluble community of interest as one nation.
What unites us is stronger than what divides us, I say. But it was not just regional differences Mr. Washington was worried about, though.
Differences in political ideas could divide us as well. Factions, the origins of political parties, Mr. Washington believed, serve to organize faction, to give it an artificial and extraordinary force, to put in the place of the delegated will of the nation the will of the party. Combinations or associations are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government.
Students, what do you think? Do you think that Mr. Washington believed that no one would ever disagree? Of course not. But he was worried about divisions, about politicians and political parties acting for themselves or a small group rather than doing what was best for the entire country.
Yes, and the Constitution made concentration of power with one individual or a small group difficult. Mr. Washington saw limited government as utmost. Government of as much vigor as is consistent with the perfect security of liberty is indispensable. Liberty itself will find in such a government, with powers properly distributed and adjusted, its surest guardian, limits prescribed by the laws, and maintain all the secure and tranquil enjoyment of the rights of person and property.
Political factions, parties, they must be tamed by the pursuit of liberty.
Yes, as the address states, the alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge natural to party dissension, gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual, the purposes of his own elevation on the ruins of the public liberty.
So political parties would become more important than liberty. And we cannot, as a nation, allow that to happen. Now, there's also a danger from outside influences penetrating the political parties and dividing and consuming the nation.
Yes, Mr. Washington warns of the dangers of foreign entanglements. Peace will secure America's future. Observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Nothing is more essential than that permanent, inveterate antipathies against particular nations and passionate attachments for others should be excluded, and that in place of them, just and amicable feelings toward all should be cultivated.
As seen in the course of European history, permanent alliances and foes cause endless wars, and could have destroyed our young nation as well.
Be mindful of foreign influence. The jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake. Foreign influence is one of the most baneful foes of a republican government. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations are recommend policy, humanity, and interest.
Now, Mr. Washington finishes his speech with a humility that is often not seen in political leaders.
Though in reviewing the incidents of my administration, I am unconscious of an intentional error. I am nevertheless too sensible of my defects not to think it probable that may have committed many errors, whatever they may be. I fervently beseech the Almighty to avert or mitigate the evils to which they may tend. I anticipate with pleasing expectation the retreat in which I promise myself to realize without alloy the sweet enjoyment of partaking in the midst of my fellow citizens the benign influence of good laws under a free government, the ever favorite object of my heart, and the happy reward, as I trust, of our mutual cares, labors, and dangers.
A hearty thank you to George Washington for his service to our nation. We encourage you to read the entire speech. Since 1893, the Senate has, on Washington's birthday, chosen a member of them to read Washington's farewell address themselves.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear that people, even today, are still reading Mr. Washington's farewell address to the nation. We hope everyone can join us next week as we look at Samuel Adams' The Rights of Colonists. Thanks for joining us.